should we go from the things that I like? I'll start off with the things I didn't like, or should we go into the things that fuck?
What's going on? Maniacs and Zach.
And I'm Matt.
This is the previews. Everybody's favorite part of the movie.
Zach's most anticipated film of 2019.
Indeed. Yes.
Also coming at you from a live studio audience, we went and checked out
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Obviously, Quentin Tarantino putting out this film starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie. Also, a bunch of other actors. Al Pacino is in it. Dakota Fanning.
Yep.
Also in this too. A lot of actors in this film. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you a question. I'm going to ask the movie Maniacs a question as well. Mm-hmm. Is this 9th film, is Quentin Tarantino getting a little bit worse, or does he keep getting better with age?
It's, I'm not saying it was his worst film by any means, but it was his best, not even close. But again, still so much fun to be had with this movie, and this just has Quentin Tarantino written just all over it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. We're going to get more in the conversation because I really don't know like if I agree with you or disagree with you yet.
Fair enough.
But for me, I definitely think this is on the lesser tier of the Quentin Tarantino movies. Granted, I liked this movie. I didn't absolutely love it, which I do with like 90, I would say probably 80% of his films. So
there's honestly only one movie of his I do not love. And that's Jackie Brown.
What? Mine's Death Proof.
I like Death Proof a lot.
See, I like Jackie Brown. I dislike Death Proof. But let's get out of the positive side of things, right? First things first.
Acting.
Oh
my God.
Damn, this movie's a tour de force.
Yes. And Leo, I hope he gets nominated. Leo was so good in this movie. It was just so interesting seeing him be an actor while acting, and you could see that. And I thought he did a fantastic job, and he was very engaging. And I mean, then also Brad Pitt. I'm going to take those words right out of your mouth. If Brad Pitt does not get nominated for this film, it's a travesty, and I will never ever, and I did this last year, I'll do it again this year, I'm not scared, I will never watch an Oscar show ever again if Brad Pitt is not nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I stopped watching a while ago.
Me too, but I don't care. If they do not nominate this man, I'm not watching an Oscar movie performance again. Same thing, Leonardo DiCaprio. If he is not nominated for Best Actor, I'm not watching the Oscars ever again. Yeah. Margot Robbie, even though she had little to do, and I'll explain why I liked her role a lot, and people are like, oh my God, she didn't get enough to say she's Margot Robbie for crying out loud. If you keep saying that, you don't know film whatsoever, and I'll explain why, right? She doesn't get nominated for Best Supporting Actress. I'm not watching the Oscars ever again. Okay, so here I'm going to go, because I think everyone collectively could say Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio, great, right? Absolutely great. Margot Robbie right now, with Margot Robbie, her presence is felt throughout the entire movie. She does so much by saying so little, and that takes so much talent to actually happen. So if you go ahead and say, well, she didn't say a lot, and you guys can agree or disagree with me or not, I don't care. Margot Robbie, she killed it. She nailed it, and I see why she took this role, because it was challenging.
No, she did do a great job, but I'm not getting to the point of saying she has to be nominated. That's all that I'm saying.
You are wrong, sir!
No, she was good. She was really good. No complaints. Zero complaints. But Leo and Brad Pitt stole the show.
So let's get on to, I guess I would say, a thing that is pretty good, right? The writing. Obviously.
I think it's still on point.
Okay.
I think he still has it. Quentin Tarantino has not lost his writing.
So I felt with this, there was little quips where I felt that Quentin Tarantino was like spot on with stuff, right? There were scenes where, for instance, you saw it in the trailer, not a spoiler, where Quentin Tarantino was showing Leonardo DiCaprio trying to act, in this cowboy drama, and he kept forgetting his lines. I loved how they drew you in the scene like it would normally be, and then it would be cut and it would take you right out.
Yeah, and just be like, line, just, you'd be so invested in the scene, and it was so well acted and so well directed, and then just, line.
Yeah.
No, it was great. It was definitely great to see. We got into what we loved about this movie: writing, acting, directing, all very, very good.
Yes.
But it was what you said when we walked out of the movie, the biggest issue, and I've sat on it for the past few days, and go ahead and say it. Tell the people.
The biggest issue with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is Quentin Tarantino himself. Mm-hmm. And hear us out. Okay, so what I'm getting sick of with Quentin Tarantino, don't get me wrong, like he is by far my favorite director, right? But he is so, especially with this movie,
his ego.
He is so full of himself.
It's his ego, and I've always looked at him as not having a big ego. He just does it because he loves it so much. Mm-hmm. But in this movie, I felt like his ego was coming through.
Right now, he's just like, I'm going to throw out these random films. I felt like, and I'm going to throw out these random films. I'm going to throw out this random show and just say like, oh my God, look at me. I'm Quentin Tarantino. I know I'm so smart. But like, hey. But here, okay, so this is the thing. I felt when I was watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I felt I was watching Quentin Tarantino tell a bunch of inside jokes, and I wasn't getting it.
Yeah, that's how I felt. He's the only one who would get most of them.
Exactly. Yeah, and we're just like, and I'm just sitting there like, dude, I don't need another film reference. I don't need this. I don't need this. And especially in the middle of the movie, there was so much like, I don't want to say crap because it wasn't like plot, like we can understand very complex plots. It was just like, hey, I'm going to throw this TV show at you guys. I'm going to throw this actor at you guys. Yeah. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. We'll see what happens. Yeah, and that's not good.
That's not good because I told you this when we walked out of the movie is that I read an article saying Quentin Tarantino suggests you seeing these 10 films from the 50s and 60s before you watch this movie.
We shouldn't have to do that.
You have to watch 10 films.
We shouldn't have to do that
to get these references.
And it wasn't like we didn't get references.
Yeah.
We got a lot of the references in the movie, but like I shouldn't have to go ahead and be like, hey, let me clear my weekends for the next 18 years to make sure I can go ahead and see all these, films to make sure I understand the complex mind of Quentin Tarantino. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. He's my favorite director of all time. But, dude, you're getting a little too egotistical right now, and I'm sorry, man. Just get back to the basics, dude.
Mm-hmm, for sure. I feel like this movie didn't have a main point. Mm-mm. If you look at all Quentin Tarantino's movies, I guess you could kind of say maybe Pulp Fiction is that gray area of, like, there's not really a true point because it's just...
I mean, there is a main point to it, but you can make that argument.
Yeah, you can make that argument, but... Reservoir Dogs, the bank heist, who messed up the bank heist? Django, just African American killing white slavers. It's great, and you get this.
Glorious Bastards, trying to stop Hitler,
just the Jews killing Nazis. And there's always been this main point and main idea. This really didn't have that at all.
It didn't have it. It sounded like he had an idea with, and we're not going to get into it deep because it's spoilers. Mm-hmm. He had this main idea. It's like, I want to make a movie about the Manson family or about Hollywood.
He lived through that time.
Yeah, about Hollywood during the Manson era. Okay, that's good enough for me. And then he just went ahead and just threw up on a page because there's a lot of times where I felt like it was just... it was just like, I'm Quentin Tarantino. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, and like saying, I'm not saying like it's a really truly bad thing because again, this movie did not feel like 3 hours or 2 hours and 45 minutes. It blew by. Mm-hmm. I was invested from beginning to end, but at the same time, about at the halfway point, I'm just starting to wonder like, okay, where are we getting at with this? Where are we getting at?
And they tease you at the halfway point. They tease you to be like, oh, this is where the point's coming across. Mm-hmm. This is where we're getting to this. And then they just, we're going to go ahead and ship the actors to another country and see what happens there. Yeah. And it's just, to me, I didn't like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What's going on, Moomaniac? This is future Zach coming at you. So, Matt and I ran into a bunch of technical difficulties this past weekend. And for this being my most anticipated movie of the year, we did not want to delay this review any longer. So, with all the technical difficulties put in place, we had to end this review in this format. So, I'm going to let you know what both Matt and I gave as our final score, which I gave it 4 Big Red Apples out of 5, and Matt gave it 3 Smiling Worms out of 5. So that's it for this week, Movie Maniacs. So if you haven't already, hit subscribe, give us a thumbs up, hit that bell icon so you don't miss anything, and be sure to tune back later this week where we're going to be reviewing, not looking forward to it at all, Hobbs and Shaw, the spinoff of the Fast and Furious movies, which I am not a fan of at all. So yeah, stay tuned for that. We'll see you then.